Okay. um, my name is Julie, and I am the director of Brain Balance Achievement Centers in Danvers, Massachusetts. And I'm sitting here with our former parent, Gail, whose daughter has completed one session of our program here at the center. And Gail would like to talk a little bit about the reasons why you decided to bring your daughter here and your experience here. So, Gail?
My daughter Kate is 13 years old, almost 14, in 8th grade. When she was an infant, we noticed there was something decidedly different about her. She cried a lot. She was failure to thrive due to an inability to nurse. A lot of various things were going on in her that I didn't understand. Having had other children, I realized that something wasn't quite right, but I didn't find out until she was nearly 3 years old that she had sensory integration disorder. And so at 3, she started occupational therapy through the school, spent the first couple of years before school, before kindergarten, in OT, and I think they added speech therapy in there as well. And that continued all through her school years. They added guidance and all kinds of special things. She had an IEP. But they could never really offer a solution to what was going on with her. And last spring, in 2010, I was feeling rather desperate and searching the internet for help because I couldn't deal with the fact that she was suicidal. I found out that the reason she was suicidal is because she was on kind of medication that made her talk about suicide all the time. And so when I was looking on the internet, I came across the book Disconnected Kids, and I immediately ordered it. Couldn't wait for it to arrive. When it arrived, I read it, and in probably the first 2 chapters, I knew that this man had a solution for what was wrong with my child. And so through a long series of events, we were able to get into Brain Balance in Danvers, which is an hour and a half away from our home. And Katie's been through the session. We didn't see the dramatic results that I would have liked because, for one thing, I think that she didn't really put herself into it. She, being 13 and very obstinate to begin with, she didn't really work at it as hard as she could have. But nevertheless, it has affected some changes, and we have seen that she has made some improvements in school. She scores well on her achievement tests. They keep telling her, Katie, we know you're smarter than this, but the problem is the behavior and her inability to take what she knows and put it down on paper or bring it out so where people can know, how much she knows. So we're seeing that she is beginning to do more schoolwork, and her handwriting is legible. She did some artwork back in December that just astonished me because she has never done anything more than just like stick figure drawings.
Well, she's had fine motor issues as well, which has really improved dramatically.
Yeah.
So she now can start to be able to express herself creatively, because she is very creative.
Yeah, and she's smart. She's a very smart kid, but just that I think that the frustration of her inability to connect with people, I think the whole disconnected kids and the part of her brain that is weak is the part that allows her to read how other people feel and to read those visual cues that we take for granted. She doesn't see those things, and therefore she hasn't developed a sense of how to relate to people, and that's a really key thing, and it causes a lot of problems in her social behavior and in her relationships at school with kids.
Sure. Well, one thing I noticed, I'm curious if you've noticed this as well. I watched Katie's progress, and I noticed that probably about halfway through the program, she started taking better care of her hair, and she would let it go down, and it'd be beautiful and wavy on the bottom. She dressed nicer. She seemed to care about her appearance, and when she came to us, she really didn't care. I don't think she understood what she looked like to other people.
Oh,
Can
no.
you elaborate on that? Is that something you noticed as well that was happening?
Yeah, she definitely has never cared at all what anybody else thought about her, you know, and we try to, and part of that is that whole social aspect of things, and part of it is like she would have food on her face and not be able to feel it. You know, that's one of the things they worked on in OT, you know, and everywhere around the school, that, you know, even the lunch ladies would, you know, they'd help her clean her face after lunch and clean her glasses because she'd get food on her glasses, and, you know, everybody in the, I have wonderful things to say about our school, because everybody really worked very hard to bring her along, but I think that the solutions that the schools have for the problems that these kids are exhibiting just isn't doing it. You know, they don't really have solutions. It's more of a coping thing. You know, it's like, how do we cope with this? You know, and in 8th grade, you know, they're starting to talk about how, you know, well, we'll teach her some life skills and hope, you know, that she can get along. And
Not acceptable.
that's not acceptable to me. You know, because I know underneath all that belligerent attitude and everything, there's a nice kid under there.
Yes.
You know, and
And
there's
I've
a
seen
smart
that.
kid who can and who someday will be able to do things just like other people.
I am so in agreement with you there. I mean, I come to really admire Katie and care very much about her, and watch her progress. And so tell me a little bit more about the changes, if at all, that the teachers have seen.
Well, they have seen I think it's she was always very belligerent. Okay, she'd be told to do something and she didn't want to do it, she didn't do it. And she would just out and out. I mean, like one day she was doing a math test and they would do a one-on-one sort of thing with her, and she just got to a point where she didn't want to do anymore. Well, she had only made one mistake on the whole test, and she only had like 5 or 6 problems left, and she just refused to do it. You know, and that sort of thing. You know, and you know, she would act inappropriately. She swore a lot, and around other kids they can't allow that. You know, so they would have. She was in detention 3 times a week, ISS a couple times, and then that started.
Self-esteem.
Oh yeah, definitely. But they discovered she loved it because she was away from the other kids. So they stopped doing that quite so much. You know, only if the other kids saw the behaviors, they would kind of let a lot of things go, so that she would stay in class. But in the last couple of months, she has not been having those kinds of outbursts, or they've been very infrequent. In the month of January, she only had 2 detentions.
Wow, what a
2
difference.
detentions, you know, and it was like, wow. And then she had some bus incidents in February and a couple of other things at school. But what's interesting to note is those incidents that she had were not for belligerent behavior and profane language. So one of them was she refused to spit out gum when she was asked to. You know, just totally different sorts of things. And when I, you know, they have commented to me on a number of occasions about how, oh, I asked Katie to do this, and she said, I don't want to first, and then she said, oh, come on, Kate, just do it. And she's like, okay. And, you know, I'm seeing that a lot at home, too.
That's great.
Although not quite as much as I'd like.
Yeah, kids will typically press their parents' buttons a little
Yes.
harder than others, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, she really knows how to do that.
Yep, yeah. Oh my gosh, well,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that she's, you know, seen improvements like this, and I really appreciate your talking about this. Is there, would you ever recommend Brain Balance Program? Is there
Oh,
anything
certainly, yes.
that you'd like to share in terms
I
of?
think the hardest part for us was traveling a long distance. We had, we didn't do the home things, which we were supposed to do, because we both left the house 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and did not get home until 6 or 6:30 at night. And she also has a sleep disorder where she's up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So by the time we got home, she was gone.
Yeah,
you know, there was no homework getting done or anything. So that was really difficult. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, she was in an after-school tutoring program. So every day of the week, 5 days a week, we were, you know, straight out.
Sure.
So the distance was quite an issue for us. But I have seen changes, and I expect that more will continue. We're going to continue to work on things at home. I think too another issue is her age. That makes it more difficult. You know, where she's had 13 years of things not going right for her.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to turn that around all at once.
Right. So at this point, you really are here to work on the neurological piece, the underlying problem, and once that's corrected, then you still have all the other hurt that has happened as a result.
Yeah, and catching up on the academics. Although oftentimes they'll test her and say, "Wow, we didn't think she knew this from class." You know, so she's going in.
Yeah.
It's going in. It's just getting it out again. That's the issue.
Right, right. Well, now she's got the tools to be able to understand and get that out better than she used to. So,
yeah, I look forward to continuing to see her grow.
Me too.
As time
Absolutely.
goes on.
Absolutely.
And I thank you all at Brand Balance.
Well, I'm so glad you brought her. Thank you for bringing Katie into our lives.